Hey everybody, Animal Man here. Today I want to talk to you about making rendered fat, and you can consider this part 2 of my video called Turkey Fat Wars. If you want to watch that video, that's kind of like the introduction to this. So right now I'm going to get into the actual hard skill of making rendered fat. And this is, a very, very important survival skill. I consider it as such anyway. And historically and primitively, as far as primitive people, it was extremely, extremely important because nothing went to waste. Everything had uses and multiple uses. So we're going to start out by explaining why this can be important for you as a modern person by exploring how it was important to people hundreds or thousands of years ago. So some of the uses that this was used for: you use rendered fat to create soap. That's one of the two major ingredients in soap making, which we'll probably get to in later videos at some point, how to make soap. It's kind of a cool thing. Native people, and historically they would use it for skin lotions. They used it as moisturizers. Your chapstick, not chapstick in a tube like we have now, but they'd rub it on their lips to use it as chapstick. You have chapped lips, especially in the wintertime. They would use it for medications. One of the major pathways for medicine to get into your body is to be absorbed directly through the skin. Like some things we have now, like icy hot, mineral ice, biofreeze, stuff like that type of thing. So you take whatever medicinal herbs you have, mix it with the rendered fat or tallow, rub it into the skin of the patient, and that would medicate them with certain types of medications. So that was very, very important. You can still use that now. It works. Camouflaging, primitive camouflaging. When I teach people camouflage techniques, one of the things you need to do is, you use clay, you use charcoal, all those other things for camouflage, but if you get it wet, they rub off. It's like washing your hands, they come right off. So the way you waterproof your camouflage is by mixing your different materials with rendered fat, and now they're waterproof. It can go right in the water, it can rain on you, your camouflage is untouched. So they'd use it for that. They would use it for cooking. Like you grease a pan with Crisco before you're going to bake some cookies or muffins. They use it for that, for cooking. I know a guy that has rendered fat from a bear he hunted, I think it's like 30 years ago. He still uses that to grease his pans when he bakes, so the stuff never goes bad. What else can we use? We can use it, how I use it, my main use is to treat and preserve and waterproof hardwood bows and also your arrows. So it treats the wood, gets the moisture out, replaces it with the oil from the fat, and it waterproofs it and makes the wood not dry and crack out. So it's a good use. You can use this for your bowls. If you make wooden bowls and spoons like they used to do, you would rub this on there and it preserves the wood and waterproofs it. And after you wash your dishes, after you use your wood bowl, you coat it with fat again. So you can use it for that. The last use that I'm thinking of right now is some Native people here in the United States, Native Americans here, they would rub rendered fat on their skin all over their body, and it would actually repel mosquitoes and ticks. Not because of the smell or anything, but what would happen is the tick or mosquito would climb onto the person and try to bite them, and the fat clogs up their mouth parts. They're not able to successfully draw the blood, so they move on to something else. So that's kind of an interesting thing that people wouldn't think of. So there's all different examples of rendered fat here. You can do it with fat from any animal. Here, this is beef. This here is bacon grease. That is rendered fat now. You've got chicken, you got raccoon, and you got buffalo. So there's all different types of fat. So with the turkey fat, which I'm going to demonstrate for you in a minute, it's very, very simple to prepare this. We're going to render it twice. We're going to cook it twice and separate it out. And you can save it. And I've got a jar all set up in there for this year's, 2015, Thanksgiving fat. But here's last year's. Here's 2013's, 2012's, 2011's, 2010's. I'm just kidding. That's when I began doing it, 2010. You can see I've gotten better as we've gone on. I've been able to get more out of it. So you can save it, and it's still good. This 2010 fat is just as good, just as edible, just as useful for whatever you want as it was the day I made it. And to prove that to you, watch this. See that? See that? Tastes awesome. Yummy. So I'm going to show you how to do it. Here's our rendered fat from Thanksgiving. You can see how it's separated nicely. The white part on top is our rendered fat. Stuff below is everything else that was in our turkey pan when we cooked our turkey. And I call this the Fat Frisbee. So the fat solidifies from being cold and it forms like a hard disc on the top. And what we can do is we can push one side, this will flip up, and usually we can lift it out all in one piece, dry it off. There'll be some herbs stuck on the bottom that we can just scrape off. We're going to break it up, put it right in this pot. I'm going to turn this on now, start to preheat it a little bit. And we're going to cook it again and melt it again to further purify this fat. So watch this. I'm going to push on this side. You can see it already coming up. There it is. So look at all that. We got to get rid of that. That's all the stuff that's not fat. We're going to just scrape it back into this bowl, and we'll dump this bowl in the garbage after. Because if we don't separate this out now by hand with our fingers, we're just going to have to render it more times, and you know, it's already separated here, so why have to do all the work all over again? This will make our process go faster. If you do this enough, you only have to render it twice. Every time you render it, it purifies the fat a little bit more, which means the fat will last a little bit longer without going bad. If you do it perfectly, fat never goes bad. So we've got all that stuff we don't want back in that bowl. And it's helpful to have some paper towels for your hands before you do this laid out already, because once your hands get gross, you don't really want to go touching stuff. And I know it's nasty, but if you want to do this, you got to do it. But it makes your hands feel great afterwards. So we've got the majority of it off. Now we're just going to break this into pieces, and we're going to put it in this new pot. We're going to heat it back up. Render it again. Oops. It's already starting to melt in there. You want to make sure with this that you don't have it like as high as the burner goes, because when this fat boils, man, it shoots out all over the place. It can cause a grease fire, and it's just really, really dangerous, so you have to be careful. Let me get that piece on the floor here. Nothing goes to waste. So we're going to let that cook. We're going to let it get to almost a low boil. And we just need to get it to that point for just a few minutes. And I'm going to add a little bit of water to it to help the stuff separate out. It's like a cup or two of water. There you go, yeah, just like a cup of water. That's enough water. Alright, here's our fat. It's been cooking almost 10 minutes. I'm going to prepare to take it off the heat and put it in the fridge. So when we cooked our turkey the first time in the pan on Thanksgiving, that was our first rendering, so it was once rendered fat. And now, after this is done, this is going to be double rendered fat. It's been rendered twice. Usually that's all you need to do. In a rare situation, depending on where the fat is from, you may have needed to render it a third time. I've never had to do it though. So, took it off the heat. We're going to put it in the fridge. Let it solidify for a few hours, then come back, take this Frisbee out, and then put it in a jar, and we're done. So this is it. It's been in the refrigerator for about 5 hours or so. And once again, we're going to just push one side down. Hopefully we'll get this out of the pot in one piece. It doesn't always happen that way. Let's see if we can. We might get it in several. That's okay. If it breaks apart like that, that's fine. But there it is. We're ready to put it right in the jar there. You guys see what I'm doing. Just lifting it out. Up there it comes. Okay. There's the rest of it. Whoop. No big deal. If there's any of the herbs from the turkey stuck on the bottom, you just scrape them off before you put this in the pot. ready to go. So this is it. You get it all in that jar, seal it up, label the date, what kind of fat it is, and it should be good for a good long time.